Welcome to Knowledge and Relationships. This is your boy M3, and I was blessed to be able to give a lovely interview with Miss Tara Sanders. She is the owner of Dle Vino. It's a wine and bar restaurant.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to give a brief illustration because for those who doesn't know Miss Tara Sanders how we met. We met at a convention last Sunday, and it was for small business owners. So everybody had the opportunity to have fun games, good laughs, and
Yeah.
to be able to shout out their small businesses and
time.
to be themselves. And I think here in Pittsburgh, this is something that what we need in our community. So I was pretty ecstatic when Tara you allowed me to give you this interview because I love to promote businesses, especially black owned businesses and all
Thank
that.
you.
So I'm excited to
I am
ask you
too.
some of these questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. I'm ready.
Okay. So first question is, what inspired you to open your restaurant in Pittsburgh, and how does your restaurant stand out in the local dining scene?
So for me, I knew that wine was an important part of my life, but it was also very inaccessible to a lot of people, especially to communities of color. I work full time in higher education, and I really saw the equivalent of what it's like being in the classroom and feeling like that space is not for students. Sometimes they're like, this isn't for me. And a lot of times wine felt the same way. People would say, this isn't for me. The environment's not right. The people teaching me about it aren't right. And so I saw this opportunity, just like in education, to bridge this gap. If you have the right instructor, you have the right environment, it is for you. You just need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was about creating a space for my community where people could feel comfortable learning about wine and realize it really is for them. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the impetus of opening up a wine bar, but also opening it up here in Pittsburgh, because I wanted Pittsburgh to have a space of their own that they felt was special for them.
Wow. And are you originally from Pittsburgh?
I am not originally from Pittsburgh, but I moved to the Bay Area 12 years ago. And I fell in love with the Bay. I've never been in a place where it's this culturally diverse. The food, the people, the music. I mean, it's like every day is just a day of good. You just, every day you can find something different and something fun.
Yeah.
And being a product of an interracial family, I had never lived in a space where I had seen so many interracial relationships. I grew up in a diverse town, but I came here and there was everybody. There was Filipina, there was Tongan, there was Samoan, there was Black, there was Mexican. I mean, there's everything. And to me, that's part of why we celebrate cultural diversity in the wine that we serve here at Dle Vino. South African wines, Uruguayan wines, independent winemakers, Black-owned winemakers, women winemakers. We really just want to celebrate the diversity that not is just the Bay Area, but the world.
Yes.
And show how the Bay Area actually celebrates that diversity.
Wow, that is definitely a powerful story. And thanks for that reminder about the diversity in the Bay Area, because sometimes we could kind of take things for granted until you start visiting different states. Let's say, no shade, but let's say Dallas, Texas, or Fort Worth, Texas, or so, where I mean, it's getting somewhere diverse, but it's not fully diverse as when you go to the Bay Area and see all walks of life.
Yeah.
So that's what I do appreciate the Bay Area. Yeah. So okay. And then you also said you was a teacher. So funny thing is my wife's a teacher as well too. So smart lady, that's good. The other question I have for you, right, is that okay, what is the story behind the name Dle Vino?
Dle Vino. So there's two parts to it. So Dale means give 'em. Italian, Portuguese, Espanol. It means Dle Vino means give 'em wine. And I really wanted to come up with a name that celebrated the cultural diversity of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, Italian immigrants, we have Sicilian here, we have Mexican, we have sister cities all over the world, Yahualica.
Wow.
And so to me, it was like, what would be a really great way to celebrate that? So Dle Vino, I thought, really paid honor to the cultural diversity of the founders of Pittsburgh. But then also, my middle name is Dale. And it's a family name. So my grandfather on my mother's side, his name was Terrence Dale. He went by Terry. My mother is Terry Ann, and I go by Tara Dale. And so it was a way to have my family as a part of the wine bar. My mother passed years back, and she loved wine, and she loved sunshine, and she loved the waterfront. So to me, she's connected to this place every single day because it's on the water, there's wine, and Dale is a part of it. So it's twofold of, the cultural diversity, but also incorporating my family. So.
No, that's good. Like, I mean, like, the fact that, like, okay, because it's like family first, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, you're giving, because you said like dollars being giving wine. And I'm like, okay, like, I like that. That's a good play on words and a good background to it.
Well, and the funny thing is people are like, what do you mean Dale? And I say, think Pitbull the rapper, Dale. Like, Dle Vino. But also too, I just love the fact that it was probably one of the most exciting parts about the process. Like, everyone says coming up with the name is like the hardest part. No, it is not. Everything else about getting open is the hardest part. Coming up with the name is probably the easiest part and the funnest part, because you're getting to be creative and be inspired and think about things that are important to you. So yeah, coming up with the name was actually a lot of fun.
Okay. I like that. And we're gonna get to some like the challenges too, because I'm for sure, like, in any structure of like building, there's always gonna be obstacles, people that's gonna probably get in the way, and you have to make tough like decisions. But before I ask you some of those questions, my third question is that, like, how do you select the wines that's featured in your restaurant, and what criteria do you use?
It's a great question. And it's a question we get a lot, because a lot of people ask, well, why don't you have this wine? You have this wine. There are hundreds of thousands of wine throughout the world. It's not like we're picking from 1,000 wines. There are hundreds of thousands. And you have to take into account, where are you serving this wine? We're serving in Pittsburgh, which is a place where this is our first wine bar ever. So we have to look at demographics. We have to look at drinkability. We have to look at price points. I would love to have $20 by the glass bottles, or $20 by the glass wines here, but as a new business, that is a little inaccessible, when accessibility of wine is an important piece of this. So what I did is I actually met with a very good friend of mine who is in the wine industry, and she works for a well-known wine company. And we sat down and we probably went through over 200 wines in just a couple of sittings, kind of narrowing down just certain varieties: Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blancs, Chenin Blancs, like looking at those. I built what I thought was a very strong wine list with support of other people in the wine industry. Really wanting to look at, again, not just local. Local wine is amazing. I love Napa. I love Healdsburg. I love Lodi, Livermore. We have a beautiful region, but those are very easy to get to. So how do we incorporate those beautiful gems, but also incorporate some of our global landscape? And so once we started picking wines, I then ended up bringing on Carrie Good Johnson, who was our sommelier, who's on board. She's actually from Pittsburgh. And she really did those beautiful finishing touches to round out our wine list. She goes, you're missing some of the more medium bodied. You have a lot of heavy, but we need maybe one more light. And so she really came in and rounded out this wine list. And then what we do is we continue to talk to winemakers. You can get things through a distributor, but we work with a lot of local winemakers directly to make sure we showcase their wine. So we picked up JSL Wines, which is a Black Belizean winemaker. Phenomenal. We picked up Amoy, which is another a Black female-owned winemaker. We've really worked to see, how do we not only have stellar wines, but wines that you can't get anywhere else. Because to me, it's really important that you don't walk into Target, which is a great place, but if you can buy it at Target, why are you going to come here? I want you to try our Cremant, our sparkling rosé, fall in love with it, and come here, because not only do you love the wine, you love the experience. You love the live music, you love the staff, you get it all. So the wine selection process was very tedious and it was very intense, and we're constantly refining. But I would say the one thing that makes it stand out is it's done with intentionality. You can't really find our wines anywhere else.
I get it. Like make it more exclusive, so then that way you have more people. You giving people more of a reason to like come back.
Well, and not only exclusive, but exclusive at price points that are accessible. Because it's
Exactly.
like, oh, this is great wine I can't find anywhere else, but I don't want to go to Dle and spend $100 on this bottle. You can come here and enjoy it, and also enjoy it at a reasonable price point.
I like that. Great taste, but reasonable at the same
Right.
time. Yeah. So, and it's good because what I'm listening right now, like what it shows is that like, you know, you're open to like, you know, get help from like other people, take advice,
Absolutely.
you know, build like a unity together.
Yeah.
Where like people can be like empowered and to
Yep.
help make a good, efficient type of business. So I love like hearing that type of stuff. Like, you know, when it comes to like, you know, how to run a business, knowing like what to get like which ones like the right products and just
Yeah.
like testing things out. So I'm assuming like, you know, with the 200 wines that you mentioned about, I'm assuming that you guys probably had to do like a little bit of wine tasting to it too, right?
Oh yeah, no, we tasted everything, and 200 is probably being modest with the first couple of rounds. I mean, it was all said and done. It was I can't even tell you how many wines when we had built the entire menu. But to your point about using other people's advice, I'd say that's like the one advice I would give anybody looking to open a business is don't pretend you know it all. You have to be able to lean on experts and authorities in the field because those are the people that are going to help you the most. You can't listen to everybody because then it's just too much noise, but you get your team, you know the people who are in your corner and you get those subject matter experts and you work with them. And that's, I think, why we've been so successful is because I wasn't scared to lean on other experts. I wanted to be successful, so I had to admit where I had any type of shortcomings and lean on experts.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, like, you know, you got to make your own decision and have the right discernment for anything. So, yeah, it's good to take advice, but at the same time, you don't want to engulf in like so many other people, have everybody always in your ear about stuff because then that kind of throws you off.
Well, and you have to keep your circle of confidants, I think, strong, and also exactly that, confidants. It can't be everybody. It needs to be the people that you trust, the people that you know have your best interest, and that you know there's a symbiotic mutual relationship where you're supporting each other versus just people that come in with ideas. Because everybody has an idea. Doesn't mean it's necessarily the right idea for your business.
True, true. And, you know, I'm going to ask you this other question too.
Yeah.
We'll kind of circle back because like I said, like, you know, how we met was because you guys had hosted an event to allow, you know, other small business owners, right, to come in and showcase their work. And I appreciate you for allowing us that opportunity.
Absolutely.
But what inspired you to like, you know, host that event for small business owners?
So the person that I co-hosted the event with, EJ, I had went to a mixer that she had hosted back in October. Okay. And I belonged to the board of the Chamber of Commerce. I used to be on the board. You know, I know the value of mixers, and I've done a lot of business engagement and relationships in parts of my career. Yeah. And, you know, I think there's a difference between going in and intentionally being there to sell a product and being there to network because there's a different feel to that. And I think when I thought about hosting a mixer here, and this was the second mixer it actually hosted, I said, I want this to be about opportunities to actually collaborate and network and get to know each other because we all need each other in some sort. But when you go into the mindset, like, I'm here to just sell a product, it can be off-putting. And actually businesses reach out and say, are people going to be tabling? Are they going to be peddling wares? And I said, no, this is literally a chance to drink some wine, listen to music, and chat with each other because you never know who can be in your network next and the benefit that's going to have on both sides. And so that was a big part of why EJ and I wanted to do that small business mixer. When I went to hers, I said, this is great. We should do it at my spot. And then when it came together, it was like, and especially on a rainy, cold day, playoffs going on, it was like, we'll see who comes. And like almost 30 different folks from 30 businesses showed up on a rainy Sunday. And it was like, well, this just shows the necessity and why we need these spaces for small businesses. And I think you got to offer more than just let's sit and talk. You know, we offered a vibe. It was like, let's talk, let's listen to music, let's dance. We had raffles. I mean, you won that sweatshirt. It was like, It's like you gotta give people something, just like with Dle Vino. They get an experience here. You know, you get the music, you get the staff, you get the good wine, you get a full experience. And I think it's not just the customers that deserve that. Like, we as businesses deserve that too.
Absolutely.
You know, we get tired. We want to let our hair down and just chop it up and, you know, hang out every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I like that. And it brings like a comfortable setting to like the people that do show up, and it makes people want to come back because, you know, the feeling of it is more than just, okay, you come to like a restaurant or bar, you get what you want, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I you know, I was checking out like, you know, the menus and the events that you have upcoming, even like the Valentine's Day mixer as well too, that's coming up.
We do a lot of events. And I think from a business perspective, what we realized is that everything is an event. Like, we add new wines to the menu. People want to come taste them. And it's like, oh, well, we'll do a wine tasting event.
Yeah.
You know, we have a band coming in. Well, that's an event. And we started realizing that that's a big part of marketing, is that we have to do a good job marketing what's going on. Because if we just say, oh, we're going to do wine tasting Sunday, no one's going to show up. But if you turn it into every second Sunday, we're going to have an event called Sip, where we have a DJ and we have our sommelier here, and we do a different flight every second Sunday. All of a sudden you have something special.
Yeah.
And so we really have capitalized on having those events, whether it's wine tasting or a live band or paint and sip like we have coming up. Every month we have different events for different people. And I think that's because, again, trying to be reflective of the cultural diversity of Pittsburgh, everybody wants something different, which is why our musical selections are different. It's why the events we do, whether it's plant and sip, paint and sip, we're doing a charcuterie class. I mean, everything is just a little different so that everybody gets a little bit of something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to like, you know, coming to like, you know, some of the events, especially the Valentine's Day mixer. My wife is definitely excited about that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, you'll see us again soon.
Okay, good.
You know, and then the other thing is like, okay, let's say like, you know, let's talk about like the challenges.
Sure.
Because I know like, you know, we hear like a lot of good things as far as like, you know, people that start their business, but again, we know there's a lot of roadblocks that comes into it. So what were like maybe like the challenges that you had to face in your development to build Dle Vino like the way it is right now?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because the challenges are real. And I decided when I was going to open this place, I went back to school. I went to restaurateur school. So great fact, Small Business Development Center of California, the SBDC, gives a ton of classes, how to get funding, how to open a business, how to do your online presence. That is a critical resource that I would recommend any business owner goes to. I went to restaurateur school. It was like a 5-month or so intensive cohort. They assigned me a food and beverage advisor. They assigned me a hospitality advisor, a financial advisor. I still work with all of those people to this day. They review my books, they review my menu, you know, my cost analysis, making sure that things are running. And this is all free, funded by the state.
Oh.
Fantastic resource. I say all that to say, even though I went to restaurateur school and even though I had all these advisors, no one prepared me for some of those challenges that I came up against. One of which was, when you do a beautiful space like this, you have to submit plans to the health department, the fire department, the city, and those include architects, electrical engineers. I had to actually review all of the architectural plans and the engineering plans for errors, having never been an architect, never been an engineer, because at the end of the day, I'm signing off on that check of a lot of money that I'm paying those people to submit to those entities. If those entities reject your plans, you have to get them updated, which costs more money, then resubmit them to the health department, the fire department, the city, which costs even more money. And you can't start working on the space on certain things until those plans are approved. So there's a number of steps behind the scenes of infrastructure that a lot of people don't know about. And so I strongly recommend that when you're looking at whatever work you want to do to the space, you work with a very experienced contractor that knows the laws and the rules around health and fire code, and knows what the city is expecting, because that's usually the pitfall that keeps most businesses from opening. They don't have their permits and their plans to open, and they're not approved. Therefore, they're waiting, and it's because usually we're trying to save money. Because honestly, it's 20,000 plus to get these plans developed. That's not even including the work. So
Whoa.
most people think, well, if I don't do this and don't do that, I can save some money. You end up just burning time. You end
Yeah.
up just burning 2, 3, 4 months trying to get around it and then spending the money anyway, and then adding 3 or 4 months on. So I would say for me, that was, while I had so much support from my advisors, my circle, I mean, the amount of support I had was ridiculous. That was the one thing that was the biggest challenge for me, was not knowing the significance and the weight of those plans and getting those approved. But luckily, I was able to switch contractors. The contractor happened to previously be an architect. We were able to get some things together
That's
really
good.
quick, but you still pay. At the end of the day, you can't skip the payment. And so I would say the biggest challenge for me was trying to get around paying that, which
Yeah.
I paid it. So lesson learned.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get it. Like, like we're all guilty of trying to find maybe like the best shortcut that we
Oh, a
think
loophole.
that could, or we try to save as much money as we can because, it takes money to get things like, started up.
But that's why I'm honest about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather people learn from that, experience and say, you know what? I tried. I would never do it again. Like, that's the advice I would give people, is go through the process, go through the steps. Don't try to skip anything because you'll end up making up for it in the long run and adding time. Like, learn from my mistake. I mean, I feel like from all the steps, I did so much right. But that was something, if I could do it all over again, I would have done that right from the beginning.
Well, I appreciate your transparency on that. So,
Because I don't want anyone to make that same mistake.
Yeah.
That's why.
I think the biggest fear, like when people are trying to start like a business, like is like the preparation, the writing, and not really having like the knowledge, like, to really come up with, like certain like dissertations and all that, like everything that you got to
business
prepare,
plan.
like it could be like stressful, it could be challenging,
Absolutely.
fearful, So I commend you for like, going through the steps, even though like those were the road bumps that you faced, you
Yeah.
still overcame that, and now like look.
And now we have this beautiful
Yes.
space. But I say that all that to say, I went to people that knew more than me. I went to the business advisor. I went to the financial advisor. I went to the food and beverage advisor. I mean, who'd have thunk? I got the email from the state and they said, oh, we've assigned you an advisor.
Yeah.
This person owns 4 wine bars. Just got his first Michelin star. And he helped this little wine bar in Pittsburgh get open. Like, that's not real. Like, you don't think that kind of stuff is going to happen. But if you lean on the resources that exist, that's the kind of support you can get. It's just being willing to say, okay, I'm going to ask for help.
Take notes.
Yeah. Don't be scared to ask for help, but you got to ask for it in the right places. And I will say forever, the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, is one of the best resources. But they're hard. I mean, the cohort that I was in for restaurateur school, they worked you. It was 2 days a week, 3 hours a night. They assigned you homework. If you didn't do your homework and submit it by a certain day, you weren't invited back. I mean, they really worked you, but at the end of the day, I had pulled census data. I had my customer demographics. I had my business plan done. I had all of these things done to help me take the next steps to meet with the city and to meet with ABC and to do all of these things. And they helped me put it in order. Had I not done that, I don't know if I would have, I don't think I would have known the order to do it in. And I don't know if I would have done it as well as I had done if I didn't have those resources.
Wow. And then also too, like, you giving like time, right, to educate yourself and then going through different resources.
Yeah.
I want to let people know, like, it takes a sacrifice to build yourself up. This goes for anybody, men, women, whoever, no matter what color you are, like, you got to go through the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so in respect on that, right, with the sacrificing part, like, I'm for sure that you probably had a sacrifice, not only you sacrificed a lot of time, right, but it probably was rough, like maybe sacrifice the time, maybe away from like family or fun events, or I don't know, like sleep.
I know a lot of people ask me, they're like, how do you do it all? And I think a big thing is I learned how to say no. I've never been good at that. I always just said yes. And I think my one takeaway from this whole experience is if I say yes because I'm going to do it right.
Wow.
If I don't say yes, it's because I don't have the capacity or the energy or the time to do it the way I want to do it. Because if I do something, I do it full and I do it, with intentionality.
Yeah.
And so for me, once I started understanding the level of sacrifice I was going to have to make to not only get this place open, but then once it was open to make sure it was successful. Again, going back to intentionality, it was like, okay, then there are certain things I just have to say no to. And sometimes that was hanging out with friends. Sometimes that was, social events I wanted to be at. Sometimes that was sleep. I mean, there were times here where the contractor worked, 15 hours straight, and I was here at 4 a.m. to check the work because we had an inspection at 9 a.m.
Wow.
And it's that level of dedication, but it's also recognizing this is a period. And I have a mentor. He's president of a college now, and we're still very close. He still mentors me in all parts of my life. And he said, we're going to take this 6 months at a time. He goes, and at the end of 6 months, you should be in a new space. He goes, in the next 6 months, you should be in a new space. He goes, but at some point, it has to start getting easier. And if it isn't getting easier, then you need to look at your model and what you need to adjust. And that, made me think the first 6 months we were open, I needed to know how to do everything because I had to teach my staff how to do everything.
Yeah.
But after that 6 months, it was time to start delegating. And so looking back at all of those challenges and the things that I said no to and the things I had to sacrifice, mostly it was time and sleep. But now that we're here a year and a half later and it's so successful, I mean, it was totally worth it. Totally worth it to see people come in and they're happy and they're smiling and they're having a great time and they're dancing and they feel safe. I love that women especially can come in here by themselves, sit at the bar, have a drink and feel completely safe. To me, that's invaluable. And I'm like, I would lose sleep all over again just to know that we have this space here in Pittsburgh.
Wow. Man, I appreciate you for sharing all this. And you know what? And I'm glad that you mentioned about mentorship. Because that was one of the questions I forgot to even ask anyways. It's important to have a mentor. I'm telling
Absolutely.
you. Like, people, I think mentorship is underrated because not a lot of people really talk about mentorship, but at the same time, when you kind of like get close to them and you kind of know a little bit of insights and outs, it always ends off like with having some type of mentorship so then you can go into the right direction.
Yes.
And if you have a good mentor, that mentor's going to make sure that when there's like a couple of kinks that he or she sees in that person, they're going to just tell you right now, like, hey, like you got to step it up. Like, we got to work on this.
Now, I've always had a mentor.
Okay.
Always. And I can't say it better, just underscoring the importance of mentorship in every avenue of your life. Like I have mentors in my faith. I have mentors in my business. I have mentors in my finances. I have, a couple of mentors that help me in different sections of my life. And, I could not be at the level I am in any of my successes if I didn't have mentors.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm going to ask you this last question because I ain't going to hold up too much of your time. And like I said, I appreciate this conversation. Okay, looking towards the future, do you have any plans on expanding or evolving Dle Vino?
It's a great question. So now that Dle Vino has been open a year and a half, we're very proud of the service. And I think, to me, there were no thoughts of expansion if Dle Vino 1.0, which is what we're calling this space, was not solid. I needed to make sure service delivery was great, wine was perfect, entertainment was perfect, staff. I mean, all of that needed to be stellar before we could even entertain 2.0. So now we are officially launching 2.0, which we did 2 weeks ago, which we're now doing offsite events. So galas, weddings, private dining events and pairings in people's homes.
Oh, okay.
We do everything from bring the wine, we pull the liquor license, we bring the glassware, we bring everything to your event. And so that is now Dle Vino 2.0. And so we just launched that 2 weeks ago. We have our first event coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah, really exciting. Because some people know it, some people don't. A really lucrative leg of the business that we didn't realize were private parties that we've had on site. We have private parties almost every weekend. They're either bridal showers, weddings, birthday parties, engagement parties. We have them pretty much every weekend, if not 2 in a weekend. And so we thought, well, the on-site events are so successful. Is there a market for the off-site events? And immediately there was. So that's 2.0,
Yeah.
and that's the expansion. And then 3.0 is a surprise. So can't tell anybody about that yet.
Okay, well, you know, when 3.0 comes in, look out for that, okay?
But
Well,
for now, this
yeah.
is the only brick and mortar we're planning on doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're sticking with this location. We have
Yeah.
such an amazing following and customer base.
Yeah.
The beautiful outdoor area, the live bands. We're going to make sure this place is solid.
Yeah, because this is like your foundation. So
Yeah.
I respect that, you know? So,
Flagship.
yes, flagship. So, Tara, like, thank you for like, you know, again for this interview. It was really fun, like, you know, like just talking to you and kind of getting to like know you, like even beyond like the business aspect as well too, though. And so, you know, people are watching this. Like, I encourage people to go after your dreams.
Yes.
You know, really absorb this type of like advice because this is definitely going to be helpful for anybody who's aspiring to like, you know, run like a business.
Yes.
And even if it's not a restaurant, look, take notes anyway.
Yeah.
And do what you can like to like get your foot like, well, get your business, you know, popping. So,
Yep.
you know, Tara, if you would like, you know, feel free to like, you know, like shout like your business, like, you know, if you want to talk about like the location,
Yeah.
anything.
Well, it's Dle Vino Wine Bar. We are at the Pittsburgh waterfront. We're the first wine bar ever in the city of Pittsburgh, Black female owned. And while I'm so proud of the work that I've done here, and I have to say it works because of the staff. The staff are the unsung heroes that do everything here. And your first visit, your second visit, your 20th visit, I love that you get a consistent experience. Our staff are friendly and they are kind, and that's because I believe in treating everybody with respect. When we interviewed everybody here, we said, I don't care what position you are, manager or busser, we all do the work here. We all help each other out. There's nothing I'm going to ask you to do that I won't do myself. And so to me, I love the fact that we have a foundation of respect here amongst our staff and amongst our patrons. So we don't have any riffraff here. We have all good times. And so while I'm so proud of the success of this place and I've worked very hard, I need to say that it is all because of my staff. So all of the praise goes to them. I would love to see more folks in here supporting this place. We're an all-woman staff, from our managers to our cooks to our bussers. We are right at the waterfront. And our Instagram is Dle Vino, our Facebook is Dle Vino, and our website is dlevino.com. You kind of can't miss us. We're just giving them wine. So I hope to see people in here soon. And thank you again so much for the opportunity.
Thank you as well too. And it was like a pleasure like meeting you. And we will be back again.
Okay.
Fun fact, I'm just gonna say this before we end this off. I think, well, out of all like the interviews that I gave to people, usually it'd be like live interviews like on like maybe a social media platform. But I think that you are the first, right, that actually gave like an interview in person.
Oh,
I could go back to some of my videos, but I think you are the first though. So
oh, cool.
Yeah.
I feel honored. Cool.
So thank you again, and I appreciate you.
Awesome.
And tune in next time, like to like watch like more videos like this. And again, salutes like to like Tara Sanders, like from Dle Vino. Please give her like your support and visit her restaurant.
Thank you.
You're
Cheers.
welcome.